Assalamu alaikum everybody. So today we are going to learn together Bloom's taxonomy. So moving forward, Bloom's taxonomy was presented by this gentleman whose name was Benjamin Bloom. He was American educational psychologist. He presented this Bloom's taxonomy in 1956. And you know what was his agenda behind presenting this taxonomy? He wanted to promote higher order thinking in education. He wanted to contribute towards research in mastery learning, how to make our students become masters of their own learning. Peoples are taught at their level of proficiency, how they are going to be assessed, how this Bloom's taxonomy is going to help the teachers in making them their students assess better. Peoples are given more opportunities to master the learning or given more challenging tasks. The focus was on the process of the learning, not the content. So, if we move forward and you look at the word taxonomy, we know that Bloom is the name of the person, Benjamin Bloom, Bloom's taxonomy. So, the meaning of taxonomy is classification, how to classify, how to categorize. And what we are going to categorize, Bloom classifies basically ways of thinking from lower order to more difficult level or higher order thinking, you can say, or higher order skills. He initially presented his classification in 1956, and later on, he basically revised it and updated it in 1990. So let's move forward. So Bloom's taxonomy basically is a set of three hierarchical models which are used to classify education learning objectives into level of complexity and specificity. So, what are these three hierarchical models? We will see them. You can see here that the first one is cognitive domain, second is affective domain, and the third one is sensory, and it is also known as psychomotor domain. Here it is further elaborated. If I show you the keywords written here, so the first one, that is cognitive domain, it is described as knowing and it is associated with head. Affective is described as feeling and it is associated with your heart. Psychomotor, whereas, is described as doing and it is linked with your hand. Let me show you further. These are cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. With this picture, it will be easier for you to remember. Cognitive, it is associated with your brain, with your head, with your thinking, how you think, how you can enhance the levels of your thinking. Effective domain is all about your feelings, your emotions. You can also say that it is associated with your values and how step by step we bring improvement in that and how those things become part of our personalities. Then we have psychomotor, and it is all about, you can see this picture here, hand. Hand means by doing. We human beings learn so many things by doing. So we will see the levels of this domain, how with the help of doing things again and again, those things become part of our personality. Moving forward, you can see here, this is the first cognitive domain described by Benjamin Bloom, and you can see the levels here. The very first and the basic level presented here is knowledge. And you know that knowledge is all about information, facts, universal truths. So, this is knowledge. And then you can see the second level of cognitive domain. This is about comprehension. And you know, comprehension is to comprehend, is to understand. Then we have the third level of cognitive domain, that is application. How you are going to apply that knowledge and comprehension about something in the real world, in the real life situation. And then we have analysis, that is the fourth level of cognitive domain. Analyze Analysis is basically to divide something into chunks, breaking them down, and then seeing it from different angle and perspectives how it works. Synthesis is basically to create, to make something unique or different. And then we have the last level of cognitive domain, that is evaluation. And what we do in evaluation, we basically judge something with the help of our own knowledge and opinion, and we come up with a judgment about something. So basically, I will be explaining it to you in a bit detail also in upcoming slides. First of all, you need to understand that all the words that are written here and how the levels work: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Moving forward, if you see here, um, in the previous slide, here we have the same almost things are given, but if you focus here, these are like nouns, nouns written here. And here we have verbs written here. So, you know that verb, we can say it is more affiliated, linked with doing or action. So, the first level, this basically cognitive domain is revised in 1990, and it is remembering. Remember means to memorize something. Um, to learn something, as we have seen in knowledge, remembering is all about learning something by heart, remembering, knowing something by heart. Then we have understanding, it is again like comprehending something. I will be giving you some examples in upcoming slides also, so be with me. Then we have applying. Whatsoever you have remembered, understood, now you're going to apply it. Then we have analyzing. As I told you earlier, it is to break down something into pieces and looking at it from different angles, how it works. Then we have evaluating something, they're like judging something, and then you create it. So here you can see both of them almost the same. Remembering, knowledge has become remembering, comprehension, understanding, application, applying, analysis, analyzing, synthesis is here now creating, and this is evaluating, evaluation. So, moving forward, what do we do in knowledge and remembering stage? Um, it is rote learning of the factual knowledge of specific terminologies, ways and means, universal truths, theories, principles, generalization, and structures. You know, when we start learning anything, the very basic thing that we do, we start memorizing the facts. For example, let me give you the example. If there is a student, um, and you must have seen it in maths class, we want our students to memorize the tables. 2 into 1 is equal to 2, 2 into 2 is equal to 4. So this is basically memorizing. In every subject, if you see, the very first thing the students do, and we try them to do, is to learn some. And there are certain things that students have to memorize. There are certain terminologies in earlier classes, there are certain things in higher classes as well, where the students have to memorize something by heart. So, this is known as the lowest level of learning. Lowest level that you are memorizing, you're not using your brain that much. You are just using it to rote learn something. So if I move forward, the second level is all about understanding the meaning of information and material. So this represents the lowest level of understanding and interpretation of rote factual information. So whatsoever you have rote learned, now in this stage, what you do, you try to understand it as well. For example, if there are 12 tenses in English, like we are told, we have past, present, and future, and then they are further divided. Okay, the student has memorized them, learned them. But understanding is about, unfortunately, we are taught like this, that we are taught the structure first, and we try to understand how the structure works, right? And then the application stage, which is the second and third level of cognitive domain. So application is not taught to us first. We are taught to understand the structure of the tenses. So this is how it works. Or understanding, you can say, uh, if the student has learned the tables in mathematics, so he knows, okay, how the multiplication works, right? So you must have seen the students doing it. They calculate everything in their brain and they come up with the answer like 3 into 2 is equal to what? 4 into 2 is equal to what? So it is about understanding. So this is the second level of cognitive domain. Then we have application, like I have given you the example of tenses. So here you know where to use which tense. This is about application. For example, students are taught to write written letters or applications, so they know how to write it and to whom it should be written, and they know about the real world implementation of it. So, application is all about that, how you implement the factual information and the understanding of the concept that you have in the real world. That is about application. Or you can see it in science subjects as well. Students learn the concept and then how they apply that information in the real world. Using information and material to solve new problems or respond to concrete situations that have a singular best answer. So, this is basically a higher level of understanding of the mechanics of employing information to a purpose than comprehension. So, this is a little higher level. So, from the lowest level, we have come to the higher level. So, remembering, understanding, and now applying is the higher level. See how the cognitive level is increasing, enhancing. We have the fourth level, that is analysis and analyzing. As I told you earlier, what we do in this, we decompose, it is decomposing materials onto their component parts so that can be examined and understood. So it involves a comprehension and understanding of the content and structure of the material. Like in science subjects, we ask students to analyze certain situations, analyze how it is responding, analyze how it is working. And we often ask students to compare and contrast, right? See the same things between plant cells and animal cells. What are the similarities and what are the differences? So here, what students will do, they use their brain and they see each and everything in detail and they come up with the results and findings. So that is Again, the higher level of cognitive domain, that is analysis or analyzing. Then we have evaluation, and in evaluation, we judge, like judging values of things based on personal values and opinions or definite criteria. Concerned with evaluating material to determine if it fulfills given purpose. So it is about judging something. It is about coming up with the answer, what I think, what I presume after evaluating everything in detail, but according to me it is. Or we should also keep the facts and figures in front of us before giving the judgment. So this is learning outcomes are highest because it contains all other categories and includes value judgments based on clearly defined criteria. Here we give students different situations, different research projects, and we ask them to come up with their judgment, what they think about it. Synthesis, like creating, this is the highest level of cognitive domain. And here, using new and creative applications of prior knowledge and skills, this is the highest level. Students come up with something new, something that they create on their own. It could be a piece of writing, any topic that you have given to your students to write on, and they have come up with something new. It could be science projects, they are creating something new on their own, and this is all about it. So, emphasizes creativity and the creation of unique pattern of structures. I hope it is clear to everyone. So here we are going to have again a quick recap about cognitive domain. You can see here remembering, understanding, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. It is about recognizing and recalling facts, remember, understand what the fact means, understand, applying the fact rules, concepts, and ideas, apply, breaking down information into component parts, analyze, judging the value of information or ideas, evaluate, and then finally combining parts to make a new whole. So these are the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy related to cognitive domain. So you can see here also we have some action verbs for each level of cognitive domain. So for knowledge, or you can say remember, we have know, define, memorize, repeat, and list. For comprehension, we have discuss, describe, explain, recognize, and identify. Similarly, for application, we have translate, interpret, apply, employ, and use. We have for analysis, distinguish, analyze, differentiate, compare, and contrast. For synthesis, we have compose, propose, develop, formulate, arrange. For evaluation, we have judge, evaluate, value, rate, and revise. Moving forward, same thing is almost given here. It is again a quick recap of each and everything. You can go through with it. The keywords are written here, the brief definitions are written here. I hope it is clear to everybody. Moving forward, here we have Bloom's taxonomy of measurable verbs. While designing paper, and I know every teacher has to design a paper, no matter which classes you are taking. So we are asked to design the paper keeping in view the Bloom's taxonomy. How many questions you are going to include which are catering the level, the lowest level, that is remembering, and then understanding. You have to distribute your paper equally. Like, for example, 20% questions should be from knowledge, from remembering. Then we have 30% questions should be from understanding. Then there should be maybe 30% questions from application. And then you have to see that how many questions you're going to add from analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So your paper should be a mix of everything so that the students of every level should be capable of solving it. So in order to justify the paper and its distribution according to the percentages, we should know and we should be excelling in the action verbs and how we are going to start the question. So here you can see the briefest definition written here. Benjamin Bloom created a taxonomy of measurable verbs to help us describe and classify observable knowledge, skills, attitudes, behaviors, and abilities. The theory is based upon the idea that there are levels of observable actions that indicate something is happening in the brain, cognitive activity. By creating learning objectives using measurable verbs, you indicate explicitly what the student must do in order to demonstrate learning. And similarly, as I have given you the example about designing the paper, it could be the objective of the class, right? How you're going to start your class with, what would be the objective of your class, what you want your students to gain at the end. So you can see here for each level, I have gathered here some of the verbs. So define, identify, describe, recognize, tell, explain, recite, memorize, illustrate, and quote. All of these are for knowledge. Define, we are asking students to just as it is define something, right? Define meiosis, define mitosis, right? Define any terminology. So we are not making our students function or use their brain any further except writing as it is what they have memorized. Then, if we see for understanding, we have summarize, interpret, classify, compare and contrast, infer, relate, extract, paraphrase, and cite. Like paraphrasing, a student can only do it if he knows and if he understood each and every word of the poem. So, this is understanding. Then we have apply, solve, change, relate, complete, use, sketch, teach, articulate, discover, transfer, solve. In mathematics, usually if the student has understood, memorized everything, then he would be or she would be able to solve it. Then we have analyze, then contrast, connect, relate, devise, correlate, illustrate, distill, conclude, categorize, take part. These are the verbs that you can use for analyze, evaluate, criticize, reframe, judge, defend, appraise, value, prioritize, plan, grade, reframe. I hope it is clear. Then we have to create, design, modify, role play, develop, rewrite, pivot, modify, collaborate, invent, and write. This is how easy it is. I hope it is clear. Moving forward, I'll be showing you some more verbs. You can see it, you can take screenshot of it, and you can use them uh, in your teaching and learning while designing the paper, while teaching to the students. So you can see the entire list of the action verbs that can be used for each cognitive level. Moving forward, here also you can see some of the examples. Recognizing and recalling. This is the first one, remembering. Identify frogs in a diagram of different kinds of amphibians. Find an isosceles triangle in your neighborhood. Answer any true, false, or multiple choice questions. Then we have name three 19th century women English authors, write the multiplication fact, reproduce the chemical formula for carbon tetrachloride. So these are some examples here. Again, we have count, read, define, recall, recite, describe, draw, record, reproduce, find, select, identify, and so many more. There are so many for the knowledge you can see here. So you can see here for understanding, interpret, translate a story problem into an algebraic equation. Story problem into an algebraic equation. Draw a diagram of the digestive system. Paraphrase Lincoln's second inaugural address. Exemplifying, draw a parallelogram. Find an example of stream of consciousness style of writing. Name a mammal that lives in our area. I think name is all about knowledge, so it should be there. Your understanding also, so it can come in this category as well. Like name a mammal that lives in our area. It could be related to both, I think. Classifying label numbers, odd or even, list the kinds of garments found in modern African nations, group native animals into their proper species, make up a title for a short passage, list the key points related to capital punishment that the website promotes. You can see all of the examples written here. Moving forward, these are the verbs. I will quickly move forward. You just need to go through with them. I hope the topic is already clear to you. These are some of the examples for application, applying, add a column of two-digit numbers, orally read a passage in a foreign language, pitch a baseball, design an experiment to see how plants grow in different kinds of soil, proofread a piece of writing, create a budget. You can see all of these verbs here for application. You can see all of the examples for application here. Then we have analyzing, list the important information in a mathematical word problem and cross out the unimportant information. Draw a diagram showing the major and minor characters in a novel. So this is analyzing. Very nice examples. Organizing, attributing, you can read and go through with all of the examples written here. Then we have analysis, further examples here, more examples here. Then we have evaluating, uh, participate in a writing group, giving peer feedback on organization and logic of arguments. Listen to a political speech and make a list of any contradictions within the speech. Review a project plan to see if all the necessary steps are included. So I hope it is clear. You can read the further examples. These are more verbs, more verbs. Then we have creating. Give a list of criteria, list some options for improving race relations in the school. You can go through with the other examples as well. So let's end it here. I hope the entire topic is clear to you. See you in the next one. Bye bye.